Hey, what's up guys, it's Ryan and welcome back to another highly requested video. This one's going to be an updated 2021 load order for Fallout 4. And I've received countless comments from you guys requesting this load order, and I felt like I couldn't pass it up because we did revisit the RPG load order for Skyrim, we revamped that, upgraded it entirely, and made a 2021 updated version for that, and I felt like we had to do the same for Fallout 4 because these are the two most popular videos on my channel, the load order for Fallout as well as the load order for Skyrim, and I just want to thank you guys so much for your overwhelming support over the past couple of years of me making these videos. YouTube is just so much fun to me, and interacting with you guys in the comments and just hearing your opinions as well as ideas for future content. It's just truly a blessing to be a part of this community, and I'm always looking for ways to give back, so here we are with a new Fallout 4 load order featuring 100 mods. I'm also aware that this is going to be a very long video, so if you don't want to sit through the entire thing, at least go to these important timestamps that I have up on the screen right now, just so if you do go through the entire load order and you download all these, you won't have any inconsistencies or bugs, because there is some special cases where you'd have to disable a mod and re-enable it here or there, or maybe you'll miss a step or something like that. So it is important to go to these timestamps if you plan on skipping out on the video and just doing the load order, but nonetheless, let's sit back, relax, and transform Fallout 4 into a true RPG. Now, just like any other mod list that you'd have for Fallout or Skyrim, there's something very important that we have to do first, and that's clearing our reserve space. You can do this by pressing Start on the Fallout 4 game and then going to the Manage Game and Add-on section. Under there, you can go under the Data tab, and under you'll find the Reserve Space. If you press Start on it, you'll have the option to clear it, but beware that this will delete all of your current mods and start you fresh on a new reserve space. This reserve space is the 2 gigabytes that Fallout actually gives you for modding, and it's important to clear it if you want to download all of these mods, because if you don't do this and you've had mods in the past that you've used, there's still cache stored in there even after you delete the mod, so it's possible you'll get all the way to the bottom of my list and you won't have enough room for the rest of the mods. The way that we get around this is we go in and we clear the reserve space so you have a very fresh copy of Fallout 4. Don't worry, you'll still have all of your saves and backups, it's just deleting the mods, and then we can start anew with a new load order. Now, when it comes to the first mod that we have in this huge mod list, we have the Unofficial Fallout 4 patch. I'm sure a lot of you guys have saw this coming because in my Skyrim load orders, we always have the Unofficial Skyrim Special Edition patch, and this is just carried over to Fallout, and it features hundreds of gameplay, quest, NPC, object, item, text, and placement bugs to be fixed. It's created by the authors of the Unofficial Skyrim patch series. There's no unsafe changes such as deletions of stock objects, and it's designed to be compatible with as many other mods as possible. Now, I'm sure if you guys have been playing Fallout 4 for a while, you'll know that this game is pretty much held together by paper clips and string, so we need the Unofficial Fallout 4 patch to fix all of those crashes and unwanted bugs, so that we can then download a bunch of other mods and not have trouble with them either. So no matter what mods you choose out of this list to add to your load order, make sure you always have the Unofficial Fallout 4 patch at the top, just to avoid any unwanted issues. And this is basically how I'm going to be covering each and every single mod in this list. I'm going to go one by one all the way down this load order, give you guys a little bit of a brief description of what the mod actually does and what I like about it, and then we can move on to the next mod. Because if I sat here and gave you a full description on every single mod that we had here, we would be here for hours, and I already know it's going to be a long video, so I'm just going to give you guys a brief description, and then we'll move on to the next mod, which in this case would be the No Quest Autostart Brotherhood of Steel Fire Support mod. We have other mods also below this, such as the No Quest Autostart Vault-Tec, we have the Nuka world and Far Harbor, as well as the Automatron, and basically what No Quest Autostart means is whenever you load into Fallout 4 for the first time, you're going to be bombarded with a bunch of new quests. This is going to just load up your entire Pip-Boy and you're not going to know where to start, so to avoid that we have these No Quest Autostart mods, which makes it so you actually have to go and find the quest yourself, instead of it just being given to you from the get-go of starting Fallout 4. Up next on our list, we have the Armor and Weapons Community Resource, which creates a standardized framework for armor and cosmetic keywords for mod authors to prevent conflicts. It also creates a standard armor and weapons workbench to be utilized for crafting items added by mods. So we have a bunch of mods added here, and you'll realize that once you get into the game and you have all of these, weapon mods and armor mods installed, you'll be having a hard time finding them throughout the world. This mod changes it so it's easier to find your armor and weapons that you've added by mods into the game, and it's also a community resource, which means that a lot of other mods depend on this one, so it's very important to have it here in our load order. After that, we have the Pip-Boy Paint Jobs Colors of the Wasteland pack, which adds 15 Pip-Boy paint jobs and introduces both clean and weathered paints in a variety of colors from all around the Wasteland. You can apply these paint jobs by going to any workbench and changing it there, and it's very easy to do and just gives you more customizability whenever it comes to your Pip-Boy. Following that, we have the Settlement Electricity Overhaul, which is a mod that aims to make running electricity in your settlements as wireless and clean as possible. These items requiring electricity will no longer need to be wired if they previously required it. You can place a wireless fuse box anywhere in your settlement, and one box will power the entire settlement area. I've been playing a lot of Fallout 4 and the settlement building is amazing, but I always felt that running wires all over the place just to get everything working was a bit tedious, and it also made it look bad. So if you're not really into that and you want to just have wireless electricity throughout your settlement and not have to worry about wires, then the Settlement Electricity Overhaul is definitely a mod I'd recommend checking out here. Up next on our list, we have KCore's Simple Guard Post Rugs, which is a very simple settlement building mod that allows you to place down guard post rugs, and these little rugs can be assigned to settlers and they count as defense, and it basically just makes it so a settler will walk up and guard a specific position that you place the guard post rug in. Up next, we're going to talk about our heads-up display mods, and starting us off, we have the HUDFramework here, which is a UI framework that makes it possible for mods to add new UI elements to the HUD. So it's basically just a resource for these other two mods that we're about to go over, which is the Immersive HUD and the companion Status HUD. Immersive HUD is a mod that hides the HUD until you set the circumstances in which it reappears. This means that you can set up situations where a single HUD element appears rather than the entire HUD. You can toggle the HUD with an in-game item, and even toggle the compass with an in-game item as well. So there's so much customization whenever it comes to changing your HUD, whether you want to have a compass on your screen at all times, if you want your health to go away after a certain amount of time, you can change it all with the Immersive HUD mod here. And then the companion Status HUD is a very simple mod as well, which makes it so if you have a follower such as Dogmeat or Nick Valentine, while they're following you throughout the Wasteland, if they end up getting hurt in combat, a widget will appear in the top right corner of your screen displaying their health and action points, as well as if they have any stim packs left. Overall, these three HUD mods go hand in hand together, the HUDFramework, Immersive HUD, and Companion Status HUD, and I don't think I'd ever remove them from my list, because they're just so useful. After that, we have an optional mod, which is the FOV100, which stands for Field of View 100, because you know in the console versions of Skyrim, Fallout, and just any Bethesda game, you're not able to change the FOV, which is something that really bothers me. I'm someone that plays on a high FOV, such as 100 in Skyrim and Fallout, and turns out they have an FOV 100 mod here that changes it immediately whenever you start out the game. So if you do like to play on a higher FOV, such as 100, there's also other FOV mods. If you want it to be higher and lower, you can also download that and place it there. Following that, we have one of my favorite mods, and that's Bullet Time. The reason why this is one of my favorite mods is because in the vanilla game of Fallout, I never really used VATS. Whether it was Fallout 3, New Vegas, or 4, VATS wasn't really something that I found to be too useful. I'm more of someone who just likes to point and shoot at everything instead of having something do it for me, so the Bullet Time is a perfect mod to compensate with that, because Bullet Time also uses action points just like VATS, so it's not overpowered, and it basically just slows time down so that you can aim your shots more accordingly, which is basically what VATS does. VATS slows time down and allows you to pick different areas that you can shoot. You'll see me using this mod a lot throughout the playthrough you see in the background because of just how satisfying and fun it is to use in combat. Now this is also the time where I stop the list to let you know that there's something very important we have to do to get Bullet Time working correctly in our load order. For some reason, if you download it from the get-go here and you start it with all of these 100 mods together, it doesn't work whenever you load into the game for the first time. So what we have to do is we have to download it but keep it disabled, and then once we finish downloading all 100 and we start into our game, once you finally start that new game, make a save in there, then back out to the main menu, jump back into the mod section, and re-enable Bullet Time. And that's all you have to do. Once it's re-enabled and you jump back into the game, you no longer have to open your load order list at all, because this is the only time we have to stop the load order here, because everything else runs perfectly fine. Now that all that important information's out of the way, we can jump back into our list with the 770 perk tree overhaul. This mod increases the maximum number of ranks for each perk to 10 instead of vanilla's 4 ranks, thus greatly increasing the challenge of the game, and it's ideal for those who want a hardcore Fallout experience. And if we're going to be changing the perks in the game, we might as well visit the bobbleheads too with the Better Bobbleheads Skills Edition, which is a rework of the skill bobbleheads to increase functionality, and it makes them a little more logical. Now it's time for us to move on to our difficulty and balancing mods, and starting us off we have the Arbitration Gameplay Overhaul. Now this mod overhauls many things about Fallout 4 to make it more aggressive, grindy, and difficult, such as making AI, including companions, attack things all the time instead of waiting to be shot. It also makes ranged AI focus on flanking and increases the odds of strafing for ranged AI. There's increased damage to a player as well as damage to NPCs, and a new stealth detection range. There's just so many changes that come along with this gameplay overhaul mod that it's almost impossible for me to cover it all in one brief description. Just know that it greatly changes Fallout 4 to be a lot more realistic and difficult, and we can also follow that up with the add-on for arbitration, which is the Automatron AI package, and this is basically an enhancement to all of the AI for the Automatron DLC, just so it fits in with the main mod. After that, we have the Immersive Fallout mod, which changes all of the movement in the game to feel correct. It makes the combat feel tense, and it just makes everything in the world make a bit more sense. Humans will move much more slower, and different types of weapons will further affect mobility. Sneaking is slower, strafing is slower, and aiming on the move will significantly slow you down, and you'll feel like a person who actually has weight and momentum, not an arcadey camera whipping from corner to corner like a superhero. And topping off our difficulty and balancing mods, we have the SKK Dynamic Damage Manager, which is a mod that gives you a holotape from starting the game that allows you to change how much damage you do as well as how much you take. Since there's a bunch of other difficulty and balance mods inside this list, if you're having too much of a hard time and you don't want to change the difficulty or you don't want to start a new character, this damage modifier makes it so that you can make yourself have an easier time or a more difficult time. It just gives you as much customization on how you want to play the game as possible. And following that, we have the Radiant Quest Marker mod, which is a very simple change that makes it so whenever you're looking in your Pip-Boy at your quests, if you have a Radiant quest, it'll be marked with an R. If you have a Radiant quest that has a timer on it, it'll be marked with a T, and a Radiant Settlement quest will be marked with an S. This just makes it so you'll know which quest is which and you'll know what's Radiant so that you don't end up wasting your time. Next up we have the faster terminal displays, which just simply increases the speed at which the text shows up on a terminal display by 20 times, making it so that you can hack a lot faster and access the computers a lot faster too. Up next we have the Timescale and Other Global Tweaks mod, which is a mod compilation of a bunch of different mods into one, such as the Docile Radstags, the Realistic Death Physics, the Timescale and Fast Travel Adjustment, better dead body collisions, long-range bullet holes, and a better warning for settlements being attacked. Now since we have the Docile Radstags mod inside of this Global Tweak mod, I thought it would be important to also follow the mod up with the Friendly Radroaches mod up next here, because if you're like me, you've wondered why cockroaches suddenly become bloodthirsty predators when they get a bit of radiation. This, as the name implies, makes it so that radroaches are non-hostile, and if they are hostile to you, they are cowardly and will just run away instead of attacking, so there's no need to waste ammo on them. Moving on, we have the new Chem Values mod, which changes the effects of Buffout, Mentats, and Psycho, and these effects are based off the ones in Fallout 2. However, they're not exactly identical, they're more powerful, and their pros and cons hopefully will make the game a bit more fun to play. Next up we have a mod that I really enjoy, and it's called the Legendary Modification mod. This mod makes it so that you can craft your own legendary weapons, because if you ever wanted to craft your own legendary weapon, and have you ever looked up and down for a certain legendary perk but just could never find it, well now you can actually craft your legendary weapons. Of course, yeah, it's going to take a lot of materials and it's going to be difficult, but the option is there. If you do the scavenging and you find all the materials, you can then make the weapons and armors of your dreams. Next up we have the Cheat Terminal mod, which is a mod that I have in pretty much all of my load orders, not necessarily for cheating, but you know how Bethesda games are, you can get stuck in certain situations or maybe quests will break on you. The Cheat Terminal is there for you if that happens, because it gives you a holotape that allows you to change pretty much anything in the game, get you out of any situation and reset any quest, and we can follow that up with the NPC height adjustment mod, which alters the race value so that NPCs and followers no longer tower over the sole survivor. Males have been left taller than females, synths are slightly taller than humans, and no other values have been altered, making it so you're no longer the shortest person in Fallout anymore. Now staying along the same lines as our NPC mods, we have the Hush It Medium version, which just makes it so that every single NPC doesn't go out of their way to tell you their life story anymore. Have you ever found it so annoying how whenever you're walking around your settlement, every NPC just has to have something to say to you? This mod gets rid of the constant blabbering and just makes it so it feels a lot more realistic to walk around your settlement. Now we can move on to some of our companion mods, and starting us off we have Everyone's Best Friend, which simply just makes it so that Dogmeat doesn't count as an actual companion anymore, meaning you can have Dogmeat as well as Nick Valentine or Dogmeat and any other character that you'd want to follow with. It just makes it so that there's no longer that limitation of having Dogmeat as your only follower. After that, we have Dan's Wear Your Helmet, which is a simple realism mod that just makes it so that Dan's actually wears his power helmet, because he doesn't in a lot of battles, and it makes it super weird to look at because his head is exposed but his entire body's completely covered in armor. It makes no sense at all. Up next we have the Valentine Jaw Sync, which is a liberal application of WD-40 and a wrench that finally got Nick's jaw unstuck, because for some reason Nick's jaw was entirely static when he talks despite the rest of his face moving. So the mod creator did something so it moves in sync with the rest of him when he talks. It's a very simple change, but it just makes it so that Valentine's jaw moves when he talks so it looks better. And speaking of better looking, we have the Glamorous Magnolia mod up next, which changes Magnolia with a custom face and hairstyle, and the hairstyle is also playable as well, and it just changes her to feel like more of a unique NPC, and she also looks a lot better as well. Following that, we have the Settler and Companion dialogue overhaul, which reduces or eliminates repetitive companion dialogue. It also adds new situation-appropriate dialogue for companions, so they'll have more to say and seem more aware of their surroundings. And there's also a new dialogue option for Kate, Curie, Piper, Valentine, and Dan's, and they'll all give side quests now, except for Curie, who can serve as a vendor and a combat medic once she's converted into a synth. In total, this mod adds over 1,600 voice lines to companions and settlers, giving you so much more to hear and listen to. After that, we have the Companions Can Sneak mod, which adds all of the sneak perk levels to the vanilla and DLC companions. This gives them the ability to sneak at the same level as you, and they won't set off traps either. Following that, we have the SBS, or Simply Better Sneaking mod, which reduces some variables from the game settings to make sneaking a bit more powerful. Now you can finally enjoy playing as an assassin, sniping enemies, and getting melee kills without the other 10,000 NPCs in the game coming for your head. Moving on, we have the Tactical Distraction system, which adds a new Metal Gear Solid style of lure system that allows you to distract your enemies and lure them out into the open. This mod makes it so that you can distract them by whistling or throwing bolts to the ground to make noise and attract them to a specific location. Now it's time to start talking about our encounter mods, such as the Commonwealth 2.0 Encounter Overhaul, which adds 20 new random encounters ranging from Minutemen vs Gunners, Nuka World vs Escapees, Forged vs Raiders, and my personal favorite, Nuka Lurks vs Farmers. These encounters will seriously increase the difficulty level of the game and make the Wasteland a very dangerous place, so it's very fun to use. The encounters don't stop there though, because we also have the NPCs Travel mod, which adds over 300 NPCs who are traveling through the Commonwealth, Far Harbor, and Nuka World, and then you can also run into the Forsaken Institute Assassin, which is the next mod on our list. The sole survivor crossed paths with this Institute Assassin for the very first time during the kidnapping of Sean, and 60 years later she occasionally steps out of the shadows to protect the sole survivor by assassinating enemies. Now, not only does this change the Mysterious Stranger perk, it also adds 6 new outfits and 8 clothing pieces so that you yourself can look like the Forsaken Institute Assassin. Now we can start talking about changing the sound in Fallout 4, and starting us off we have the Realistic Sound mod, which adds additional reverberation effects to about 50% of the game's sounds, so you'll notice better sound echo in the distance, sounds now bounce off of objects better and more realistically, and it also enhances the immersion in almost every other way whenever it comes to sound. After that, we have Rainier's Radio mod, which allows the player to change the radio stations on any in-game radio, as well as displaying the radio's current tuned frequency. There's just a simple pop-up menu to make changes to the radio, and it'll automatically tune into any of the stations that your Pip-Boy can also receive at the current location. Moving on, we have my favorite Fallout 4 music mod, and that's Faded Glory, a post-apocalyptic soundscape. This is a soundtrack expansion featuring 80 songs and 4 hours of new music, and it's region-specific as well, meaning that songs played in Sanctuary Hills at night will differ from those played in downtown Boston by day. And topping off our music mods, we have the Spectacle Island music change, which makes it so that the generic dungeon music that you would hear whenever exploring throughout Spectacle Island has been changed to the Minutemen theme that you would originally hear at the castle. Up next, we have the Visible Galaxy 4K mod, which makes it so you can clearly see the galaxy in all its beauty now. Because you'd think that after 200 years, the light and air pollution would have died down, and that the Milky Way galaxy would once again become visible. Moving on, we can start talking about our character creation mods, and starting us off we have the Eyes of Beauty Fallout Edition, which adds new high quality eye textures to the game. You'll also want to pick up the Ponytail Hairstyles, which adds 32 new standalone hairstyles for Fallout 4 characters, and these hairstyles can be used on both males and females, but were designed for females. After that, you have the CC's Improved Hair Colors mod, which is a simple replacement of the gradient file that the game uses to control the hair colors in-game, to have more natural and at the same time more vibrant hairstyles as well. Up next we have the Lots More Beards and Mustaches mod, which gives you so many more options in terms of beards and mustaches for your characters in Fallout, and you also want to pick up the third-person beard fix, which fixes the see-through texture for third-person beards, just so everything works together properly and everything looks right as well. Following that, we have the Beautiful Female Settlers No Replacer, which adds more than 50 new beautiful female settlers, all with custom hairstyles, without replacing any vanilla settlers. And then our final character and NPC overhaul mod that we have here is the Diverse Children Light mod, which adds 3 new face shapes for each gender of child, 5 new hairstyles for children refitted for the Commonwealth cuts, as well as 1 custom outfit. With these mods combined, you'll have the greatest looking character and NPCs in the game possible. And following our NPC mods, we have the Enhanced Blood Textures Basic mod, which is an overhaul of all the blood textures with new high-resolution blood decals that complement the violence level of the Fallout series. This replaces the combat blood splatter, the screen blood, and the decapitation spurts, as well as increases the blood amount, and all of these hits and decapitation effects will now cause more blood stains. Next up we have the improved map with visible roads, which enhances the roads, train tracks, and topography of the map that's on your Pip-Boy. It also includes distinct water lines, it has corrected placements of map markers, it also balances the brightness for the glowing sea and includes Far Harbor but doesn't require it. And since we're on mods that cover the Pip-Boy, we have the Stealthier Pip-Boy mod up next, which makes it so whenever you're going through and sniping enemies from afar or trying to be stealthy, you no longer have that big green light on your arm. So now the screen turns off whenever your Pip-Boy's not in use. Next up, we're going to be covering mods that improve the settlement building as well as the crafting, and starting us off we have the Immersive Chem Station Overhaul. And this mod creates a better sorting method with new keywords, new drug recipes, and batch creations for basic drugs, with healing items that are practical and usable now. There are now recipes for mines and frags that are easier and practical, and you can now disassemble them for their components as well. Following that, we have the Fab Workbenches mod, which is a mod that allows you to craft some really wonderful and fabulous workbenches in your settlements. I feel as though this mod's very important because the bombs fell a while ago, and no one thought it would be a good idea to keep a clean workstation, which is something that I never really understood about this game. People will live in houses and they won't clean up their houses, they just leave the piles of dirt everywhere. So this Fab Workbenches mod makes it so you can work in a clean environment, and speaking of keeping our settlements clean, up next we have the Do-It-Yourself Updated mod, which allows you to have shelves that actually have items on them now. You know how before you were able to put a bunch of different shelves around your settlement, but there really wasn't any items to put on the shelves? Now this mod adds new items to the settlement build menu that are pre-made clutter items that you can put onto shelves. A simple mod like this can greatly enhance the way that your settlement looks because of all the items that you have around the place, and it's not just going to be an empty settlement with just a bunch of basic walls and furniture. And we can continue with putting stuff on display with our next mod, which is the More Power Armor Displays mod. Basically what this mod does is it creates a new station separate from the crafting station for your power armor so that you can actually display your armor in your settlement. This mod also features a bunch of colors that you can have on your power armor display so that all your power armor stations don't look exactly the same. And if we're going to be putting our power armor on display, it's also important to put some of our weapons on display as well with the Better Armory mod. Basically what this does is it adds weapon racks and more with a selection and a new workshop item, all themed around building armory and gunsmith workshop type locations. There's weapon racks, ammo cans, and appropriately themed posters, and the items included in this mod should help you create a more convincing weapon workshop or armory than is possible with the pegboard weapon racks from the Contraptions DLC. And topping off our decoration mods, we have the Colored Workshop Lights mod, which includes new lights that you can put around your settlement. These include red, green, blue, pink, orange, and bright white, just to have your settlement feel more lively and colorful. And after that, we have Tuesday's Fallout 76 Watchtowers, which is a mod that brings the Fallout 76 Watchtowers, as you could have guessed, into Fallout 4. Now, not only can you build these inside of your settlement, but you can also find them out in the world, so there's some new areas to explore and new loot to find with these new Fallout 76 Watchtowers added throughout the Wasteland. Next up, we have the Immersive Containers mod, which gives you access to so much more loot because you can now open almost every crate that you stumble across now. This includes wooden crates, Vault-Tec crates, shipping crates, even graves, metal barrels, wooden barrels, radioactive barrels, kitchen cabinets, drawers, end tables, and more things to loot now, so there's so much more things to find throughout the world. Now we can start talking about our new location mods, and starting us off we have Recio's Location Pack. This mod adds 8 new small exterior locations to the Commonwealth because they thought some were extremely barren. These list of locations include a crashed APC, a destroyed shack, a raider camp near minefield, a ravaged shack, a fisherman's camp, a crashed vertibird, a military convoy, and even a scavenger's camp. And following that up, we have the King George III Public House mod, which is a pub that's located in Concord. It's an unmarked location, but can be found and explored, and this pub contains a few small creatures like radroaches and some loot to find, although there's nothing too special as the pub is intended to be an early game location. It just serves as an area to get some useful things that may help at the start of the game, and there's also a bed that can be used in one of the upstairs guest rooms. After that, we have the Ipswich Apartments mod, which can be located on the southeast side of the exterior of Diamond City, and it's also an unmarked location that hosts a small gang of raiders who are utilizing the apartment block. There's a lot of decent loot that can be found on each floor, and also 4 fusion cores in the basement for those who either have a high hack skill or a key found in the upper apartment area. Other than that, this is simply an extra location to add to your leisure. And then we can also add the Stumble Upon Interior mod after that, which adds 9 new immersive interiors to the Commonwealth. There's no quest tied to these places and none will have map markers, but they are all made to be stumbled upon while traversing through the Commonwealth. But we're not done there whenever it comes to new locations to explore, because up next we have the Plenio Exploration mod. And the mod author says whenever Fallout 4 first came out, they played through to Concord, and they were extremely disappointed at the amount of houses that you could actually go inside. Boarded door here, blocked door there, they wanted to change this, so they created this mod. They go to those boring houses and they make it so you can now enter them, and the areas that they created sometimes contain stories that are read through terminals and notes, and the stories can branch off and reference other stories in the mod, so now you'll actually be able to explore and loot the buildings inside of Concord instead of them all just being boarded off. And next up we have the Crowded Commonwealth mod, which aims to fill the remaining areas of wilderness by adding a variety of new locations, each with their own hidden lore and story behind it. You can now expand your game with new locations ranging from brainwashing schools to massive parks. So now that we've added a whole bunch of new locations to the game, it's important to clean up the ones that we know and love, such as Nofu's Sanctuary. This mod replaces the 5 houses that were just piles of rubble in Sanctuary. It also fixes the bridge to Sanctuary and nav meshes the repairs, expands the build border outward a ways, and raises the upward build border in the center so that you can build tall towers now. And since we cleaned up Sanctuary, it's also important to head over to Diamond City and download the Project Clean Commonwealth mod. This mod completely cleans up Diamond City and makes it feel like an actual city, instead of it just feeling like a huge dump with all the garbage and rubble everywhere. Now it's time to talk action, and up next we have a bunch of gun overhaul mods as well as effects that we can add into the game, such as the Spitfire Enhanced Muzzle Effects mod. What this mod does is it overhauls the effects produced from muzzle attachments, so that now when you put a muzzle mod on your weapon, it'll produce a different muzzle effect. Each and every muzzle and caliber produces a different amount of smoke, sparks, and unique muzzle flash, and some attachments don't produce any muzzle flashes like a suppressor, so it makes gunfire a lot more realistic in Fallout, and a lot more satisfying to use as well. Up next, if you're playing a pacifist, I have the Stun Gun Shotgun mod here that allows you to have a stun gun that immobilizes people. Where to find it? It's located in a safe at the Natix Police Department, and it's a gun that knocks people down and uses electromagnetic cartridges. Following that, we have the See-Through Scopes mod, which does exactly what you may think. It adds new scopes into the game that are called Short Combat Scopes, and the reticles of said scopes are fully customizable in-game now. So now that you can have any type of scope on any different weapon you'd like, and these weapons include a feature of 2.5 magnification, a 4x as well as an 8x zoom, and every weapon that has vanilla access to the recon set also has a set of recon scopes that are included in this mod too. All of these scopes can be crafted at the workbench and they fit on any weapon in the game, so it's very awesome to have in your load order, especially if you're going to be running and gunning a lot. And who doesn't like running and gunning if we're not going to be finding some new unique weapons in our travels as well? So up next we have the Unique Uniques mod, which makes it so there's over 30 new weapon mods, each with their own unique models and special effects, and there's also new effects for the Silver Submachine Gun and the Deliverer, and it has seamless integration into new games. Staying on point with our gun mods, up next we have the Accuracy International AX50 Anti-Material Rifle. Now this sniper is incredibly badass, and it's accurate, reliable, and very powerful, and in the mod they've designed it to be a late game weapon because of how much damage it does. This is an amazing sniper, and like I said, it looks incredible. The textures are awesome on it. That's why it comes in at such a high memory space, but it's so worth getting if you're going to be a hitman or a sniper type character that's going to be shooting from afar. You're just not going to be able to put the weapon down because of how satisfying shooting this thing is. And for those of you who don't snipe out there, I have 2 gun compilation mods up next here called Hypermerge 1 and Hypermerge 4. These include so many new weapons into the game, such as the 9x39 pistol, the Russian Recon Pack, the Springfield Armory M1A, you have the Mosin, the AK-47M, the FAMAS, as well as the Pernak. So there's so many new weapons to get your hands on, and these are very powerful weapons that you can put mods on too, and the amount of mods that you can put on these are incredible. You can completely customize your weapon to look like a badass killing machine, and that's something that I really like about these weapon mods here. Now that we're done talking about the weapons in our game, it's important to move over to the armors and cover them too, with the Armorsmith Extended Framework mod. What this mod does is it makes every outfit in the game be worn under armor pieces, and all armor pieces should show up when equipped. Every hat and helmet in the game that doesn't cover your face can be worn with bandanas and gas masks, and it also adds new craftable outfits, headgear, gloves, custom dog meat armors, helmets and hats with hair, under helmet fight caps, wearable weapons, and a working jetpack that can be crafted at the Armorsmith workbench. So there's so much at your disposal whenever it comes to what you're wearing now, and the fact that you can now wear an outfit under your armor is such a good feature. Next up on our list, we have the Backpacks of the Commonwealth, which adds 15 unique backpacks with custom stats, over 50 workbench mods, and 40 selectable colors of backpacks, and they're fully integrated into leveled lists, NPCs, containers, and vendors, and of course these backpacks give you extra carrying capacity so that you can store all that junk and bring it back to your settlement with ease. Now we have one of my favorite armor mods in this list, and that's the Ghillie mod Redo. This is an overhaul of the previous mod that they had, which was the Ghillie suit, and weapon wraps, and this redo has been crafted from the ground up to fix many of the bugs from the previous installment, and it includes new Ghillie armor such as the Ghillie torso, arms, and legs, and other clothing options such as recon fatigues, the recon cloak, the stealth suit, and even the K9 recon vest for dog meat. This mod also allows you to wrap your weapons so you can stay out of sight more, and the weapons that you can wrap include the pipe bolt action rifle, the hunting rifle, as well as the combat rifle. We can then expand our armors even more with the Raider Armors Retextured mod, which retextures the Raider armor, the SAC hoods 1, 2, and 3, the Raider leathers, the Raider harness, road leathers, welding goggles, the gas mask with goggles, long johns, the leather coat, the traveling leather coat, spike armor, and even the cage armor, so that the raiders that you encounter don't just look like the same enemy over and over again. Now that we're done expanding and retexturing the weapons and armor in Fallout, it's important to look at the world of Fallout 2 and make the Commonwealth look nice again. We can do this with Valius's High Quality Texture Pack, which is an overhaul pack focusing mostly on items, objects, landscapes, furniture, buildings, and miscellaneous items, and all of these textures are vanilla friendly and utilize much less VRAM than the base textures. Following that, we have the Retexture Fusion Core mod, which makes it so that the Fusion Cores actually have writing and labels on them now. Because in the original game of Fallout 4, it was pretty much just a yellow cylinder that you would shove into the back of power armor. This mod just changes that so that the Fusion Core actually looks like an important item now. Coming up next, we have the Some Trees mod, which adds some leafy trees throughout the Commonwealth and places that the mod author felt could enhance the atmosphere. And then we can also follow that up with the Another Green mod, which is a performance-friendly green mod that overhauls and adds new trees, grasses, shrubs, and actually makes the Commonwealth look lively instead of it being still that brown wasteland that we all know. Because you'd think that after so many years after the bombs fell, we'd at least have some regrowth of the grass, right? Or maybe some leaves would grow back. This mod makes it so that Fallout 4 exploring is absolutely beautiful and there's so much environment now. Next, we're going to be talking about our final game changers and just mods that have to stay lower in our list. Starting us off, we have the Unrestricted Settlements mod, which is a very simple change that just makes it so instead of having items that are strictly for a specific settlement, such as whenever you're inside home plate, you won't just have the items made for home plate, you'll have a bunch of different items that you could have found in Sanctuary, the castle, any of the other areas that you can build in the game will now have access to those same items inside of any settlement that you travel to in the game. And then to make our settlements truly unrestricted, up next we have the No Build Limit All DLC mod here. This does exactly what you may think, it just makes it so you have no build limit anymore, so you can build as much as you want inside of your settlements. And then moving on to the next 4 mods, these are mods that I cannot live without whenever it comes to settlement building. These include the Place Anywhere mod, the Place Everything mod, the STS Scrap That Settlement mod, as well as the SCAP Settlement Cleaning mod. The Place Anywhere mod here allows you to place objects in red zones, so that you could pretty much place anything anywhere in the game, as you would have may guessed from the title of the mod. And then you have the Place Everything mod, which allows you to have every single item that Bethesda used in the creation kit inside of the workshop build menu. Now, I know you already have a lot at your disposal in the workshop build menu, but this expands it like crazy. Any item that you see throughout Fallout as you're exploring can now be placed in your workshop settlements. So you no longer feel restricted as to what you can and can't build, because what you can build is anything that you find out throughout the world of Fallout. And then following that, we have the STS Scrap That Settlement mod, which is a mod that allows you to scrap pretty much anything throughout your settlement that you previously weren't allowed to before. This means that little rubble on the ground that you find, little pieces of paper on the road, you can actually select those tiny objects and delete them from your settlement. This just makes it so you can have a lot more of a cleaner settlement, and there's not something that you look at in your settlement that can't be removed and you feel as though it has to be permanent or maybe blocked off because of how ugly it looks. Now you can remove pretty much everything. And on top of that, up next we have the SCAP Settlement Cleaning mod, which does even more of that and allows you to scrap even more items, such as at the Red Rocket truck stop, you can actually delete the gas pumps as well as the things hanging down from the top. You can also get rid of full buildings all at once if you want to as well. There's so much customizability and things that you can delete with the SCAP mod, as well as the STS mod before it, that they're almost inseparable mods whenever it comes to a settlement building load order. I absolutely love the settlement building in Fallout, and having no restrictions at all and being able to build anything that I want just completely expands the horizon of things you can create and allows your creativity to take control. And now that we're nearing the end of our list and we've covered most of the things in Fallout, it's important to learn where we're going to start out our character at. Now, of course, we don't want to start our character at the vanilla start inside of the pre-war area, because there isn't many RPG elements to allow you to create a backstory there. You're pretty much just already given a backstory that you were a soldier and you're just forced into this timeline where you can't really have any type of past for your character, but this completely changes that. The Start Me Up Full Dialogue Prompts mod provides a menu at the beginning of the game after the bathroom scene with 3 options. You have the alternate start option, which allows you to wake up from the dream as a different person and not the parent of Sean. You can do the vanilla sequence, of course, but you can also start as a Wastelander outside the vault and select your own special stats, up to 20 traits, start with at least 38 different occupations, including factions and starting gear. You have 38 different start locations as well, sorted by difficulty. You can also change how much or little starting gear you have, your starting level, as well as a button to randomize all these options. This is overall one of the mods that adds the most RPG-like elements to this list because it allows you to choose a backstory, how you start the game, and it allows you to create a story for yourself instead of being pushed into the veteran Vault Dweller story. After that, we're going to install 2 patches for this alternate start mod, and that includes the Start Me Up patch for Nuka World as well as the Start Me Up patch for Far Harbor. This just changes the different dialogue options that you get whenever you approach Nuka World and Far Harbor, because you're playing as a different character other than the Vault Dweller veteran, so they want to compensate for the dialogue options that you get if you're not playing that same character. Next up, we have a mod that I cannot play Fallout 4 without, and that's the full dialogue interface, which actually allows you to see what you're about to say to the person that you're talking to. No longer is it sarcastic, or ask for more, or A is the good option. You now get to see everything that you're going to say, and it's all typed out in a long list, just like Skyrim's UI was. We'll also want to pick up the Lookup Failed Creation Club Full Dialogue Interface fix, which just fixes some other problems that were with the Full Dialogue Interface in certain areas of the game. This included messages that would just say Lookup Failed, and that's why the name of the mod is Lookup Failed. So to remove those little messages that you would get throughout the game, just download this small patch, and you'll be able to fix all those unwanted screens. Moving on, we have the amazing Follower Tweaks mod, which allows for follower appearance sculpting, commentary controls, personality reshaping, gear and outfit management for your followers, a follower locator, AI tweaks including combat distance, aggression, trap avoidance, and helmet toggling. This amazing Follower Tweaks mod makes it so that your followers aren't just brain-dead AI anymore. They'll actually think before they act, and they actually have a system that works, and this is also another mod that's hard to play Fallout 4 without because of how greatly it enhances the follower system. And topping this list off with one final mod as well as the 100th mod in the list, we have the Fallout 4 FPS Overdrive. This mod greatly enhances the FPS of your game, so it's important to put it at the very bottom of our list, just like we do for our Skyrim load orders, just so you don't have any unwanted frame rate issues, because we are running a lot of mods here, and Fallout 4 isn't the best whenever it comes to stability. That's why it's important to put this FPS mod here so that you'll have a completely smooth game and be able to experience Fallout 4 the way it was meant to be played. And that is it. That is all 100 mods in this huge Fallout 4 RPG load order, and I hope you guys have enjoyed all of the mods that I've picked out for this list, but there is one more thing that we have to do after we install all these mods. Once you install them all, you'll back out to the main menu, and then you'll want to power off your console completely. I do this by holding the power button on the console for more than 10 seconds until it completely shuts off, and then you can start your Xbox back up and start a new character and load into a brand new Fallout 4 experience. And I had such a blast creating and testing this load order, so I'm very excited to get this video out for you guys so that you can try this load order out for yourself. Now, I was able to beat the game without having any issues at all, but that being said, if you guys end up having any issues, don't be afraid to ask me in the comments below, because I'll try to help you out the best that I can, because I absolutely love this load order and I want you guys to have as much fun as well. But that being said, hopefully you guys did enjoy this huge load order video, and if you did, I'd appreciate it if you left a like and subscribe if you're new. It really helps me out a lot. And if you have any suggestions for mods that you feel should be added to this list, or maybe load orders that you want me to create in the future, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. Or you can follow me on Twitter. I'll be sure to leave my Twitter in the description, and you guys can follow me on there and leave me suggestions to there as well. Special shout out to my Patreon supporters. Thank you guys so much for everything that you guys have done for me. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys did enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys later.